Hi, welcome back to Books, Tea and Biscuits with me, Jo.
And me, Kim.
This is the May
The
review.
May review,
the May review, where we took out books each, and I didn't know what books I'd taken out. Kim didn't know what books she'd taken out, and we wouldn't know till we decided to read them.
Yeah.
So we technically chose 3 or 4 books. And we decided that if there was, as a book that, you know, if we didn't want to read it, because there's no way we could be indifferent to it, you know, we couldn't give a true review because it's not the sort of thing we like at all, then we would have another book to read. So I ended up with The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, Heartless by Elsie Silver. My big hardback is Girls of Fate and Fury, and The Housekeepers by Alex Hay. Now, these two, I hate romance. I really do. Reading about romances, I really hate them with a passion. Sorry, it's a bit of a, you know. So I thought, well, I'll read the synopsis. And the synopsis told me that these were romances. Even though this is a fantasy one, it's still a yucky romance. Now, you lot might like it. I couldn't be... I couldn't actually give a proper review without sort of being horrible about it, and that wouldn't be fair, especially if it'd be a good book. And I won't read a romance for love nor money. But while I was away in Great Yarmouth on a 60s, 70s, 80s weekend, my friend Paula gave me a book. She bought it off Amazon. And it's written by Gordy Marshall. Now, those of you that have heard of Gordy Marshall, you'll know that he's been in the War of the Worlds tour. He's done quite a few of those. He plays the drums and 1 or 2 other bits and pieces. And I think he's in the Black Smoke band, because they have like 2 bands. You've got the Eula Do, yeah. You know, what the Martians say, that one, and next to it you've got the Black Smoke band, and I think he was in that, but he played the drums anyway. He's actually played for a lot of people as a session drummer. The book he's written is called The Resilient Musician. Now, I haven't got it with me because I read it. It's a thin book. It didn't take me longer than a couple of hours. And I've given it back to Pamela. So Kim will put it there so you'll know what it's like, and you get it from Amazon. And that's the one I'm going to start with, but you let them know what books you've got.
So in my mystery pick, I picked A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. I also picked Powerless by Elsie Silver, which is the second one, or I don't know what order they go in, but part of the series that Jo didn't like. And then I picked up You Are Here by David Nichols. I read A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. I'll do a review on that one. Didn't read this one because I wasn't in the mood to read it. I don't hate romance, but I just need to be in the right mindset to read it. So I didn't read this one because I don't usually go towards romance books. But if I hear they're good, I'll try them out. But I'm just not in the mood to read this one at the moment. I've had a hard few weeks, and then I started You Are Here by David Nichols, but I haven't yet finished it. So I can give a review on what I know, and then I'll continue with it and update you as the weeks progress. And then we'll choose another quick mystery bundle today and go through, hopefully, some more that we enjoy.
Right. So my first review is The Resilient Musician by Gordy Marshall. This is a paperback, I didn't put the page count in. I normally do, but I didn't this time because it's a fairly thin book. And it was written during the pandemic because, as we know, a lot of the music, bands, solo artists, in fact, the music industry and the entertainment industry in general really suffered badly when it come to the pandemic, because people weren't allowed to go to theatres, so concerts were being cancelled, plays were being cancelled, and that meant that the musicians couldn't get any money because they weren't be able to perform, which meant that it cost them a lot of money if these things, because they have to book them well in advance, obviously. So Gordy Marshall was in a band, and I'm not called Go Now. He'd played with a rock band, which I'm not going to say because he doesn't mention it in the book. He doesn't want to play off that band's coattails. He wants this book to be about what he did. And he wants it to be taken not as part of that. He doesn't want to play on their coattails, but those of you that know Gordy Marshall will know who I'm on about. And he played with this band for quite a long time, over 20 years. He played the drums with them. For them, and of course when the pandemic struck and people weren't allowed to go out, that was it. Musicians lost a lot of money because gigs were cancelled. We all know that. Even those that are A-listers, that they class as A-listers, were suffering. So what he ended up doing was he took a job as an Uber driver. Yeah. When the pandemic had finished and when people were starting to go out and go to concerts, obviously there wasn't a lot, but he decided, he persevered, and he was determined that he was going to get back on that stage and do a job. But it wasn't something that he could just do like that, because lots of people were trying to get back onto it, and he hadn't got the wherewithal, he hadn't got the money. He'd got to start to earn money to live and whatever. He got a family. So he decided to become this Uber driver, and one time he was driving a couple who actually remembered him for what he did, where he performed, and through them he decided that he was going to get back on into the field again. So he spoke to some friends, people that are involved in music, and he managed with difficulty, because it's not something just because he was a professional musician and was really good at what he did. It's not a case of going somewhere and then saying, have you got a job, that they'll say, yeah, we'll have you. There's more involved in that. And when it comes to the stage stuff, like the Cats, the musical Cats, and Starlight Express and Hamilton, and all these musicals, stage musicals, and they do have an orchestra and they do have other musicians. Apparently they don't rehearse. They're told, this is what we want you to do. You sit with the person who's been doing it a long time, see what's required of you, and that's it. So that's what Gordy did. And he ended up playing, in the orchestra pit for these musicals. He then decided to get Go Now back together, because they'd had a lot of gigs which had to be cancelled, which again meant they'd lost money. So he was determined. And although the pandemic wasn't as bad, it was still sort of going when he decided to get Go Now together. He thought, why don't we stream a concert? Go to the venue and perform and stream it for the fans. And that's what he did. That's what he started to do. I found this a really honest book. It was interesting from the start because you knew what happened, you knew how bad the music industry was. He did have some support, his wife was very supportive, his family was very supportive. People that knew him from the music industry were supportive and helpful as much as they could be. It took him quite a while, obviously, because we know how bad things were. He also performed in the orchestra for the Michael Jackson Thriller musical. His resilience, perseverance and determination, plus also being tenacious about it all, I think is what made him carry on. The music is there, that's what he wants to do, that's what he loves to do. I've been to a couple of the Go Now concerts and they are amazing. Those of you that know the song Go Now, you know the Moody Blues sang that. So this is a Moody Blues tribute band. He plays flute, he plays drums, you know, he does percussion. You've got Mick Wilson that was in 10cc, he does vocals. You've got a couple of other guys as well whose names I'm so sorry escape me, but they've got a lot of background, huge background in the music industry. So this is a fantastic band, and he got them back together again. He's really tenacious, is Gordy. He's got gigs in America where they're working and playing with the actual orchestras of those states, you know, and that's what it's about. It's about resilience. It's about how you can turn your life around from something like the pandemic and how that affected everybody. And if you carry on, it's something you want to do and fight for it, you do it. I really did find this an amazing book to read. It doesn't take long to read, but it's really informative. There's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
I would give it more if I could, but it's definitely a 5. If you're really a big music fan and you're interested in how this, and even now the music industry is still trying to climb back up, because it's really difficult for people to get the bookings they want. You know, certain bands, they want to be able to get to certain theatres, but other bands have probably got those dates, and it's not always easy. And even now we know that there's a lot of cancellations that go on because the tickets don't always sell.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this band Go Now, they do sell out a lot, but I'm sure there's places where they have difficulty because people are still, even now, they're still worried. You can order it from Amazon. I would recommend you ordering it from Amazon. It doesn't matter what your taste in books are, whether it's thrillers, comedies, romance, horrors, wherever it is, adventure. This is everything. This is really good. The Resilient Musician by Gordy Marshall. I do recommend it. It's a brilliant, brilliant read.
Good.
And I will ask Pamela if you can borrow it, because it'll only take you an hour or so.
Yeah, it's not a big one, is it?
No, it's not. But there is so much in there. You do feel his passion for actually wanting to get back there and how he goes about it. So I would definitely recommend this for anybody.
Good.
The Resilient Musician.
I'll put a picture here as well.
Yes, and at Amazon. You can order it at Amazon.
So my first review is A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. We have read a Paula Hawkins before, and I can see down there the blue and black cover of Into the Water that we reviewed a few months ago. I picked this one up knowing that it was not a murder mystery, but a mystery thriller / crime. And I thought I was going to like it more than I did. I did really enjoy it, but I felt that it lived up to its name in regards to a slow fire burning. I felt the book was really slow, even though the review says fast-paced, highly charged, impossible to resist. It's always a quiet one you have to watch, which it is, but I went into it all like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this. Like, I love the colour and the cover anyway, but in not so much information. What happens is there's a man killed on a barge, so a canal boat. It's not a very nice canal boat, it's all run down. He hasn't lived in there for long. But there are 3 women that are tied to the murder or tied to the victim, and or would usually have a motive to kill him, but it turns out that we're led to believe that it's the first young woman, which is Laura, who does have brain damage from an accident from when she was younger. So she's one of the first suspects. And then there's Miriam, who is the lady that found him, who also lives on a canal boat, like opposite where his canal boat was. She finds him, but she's tied to him as well and doesn't realise. And then the third one is the victim's auntie, Carla. And obviously she's tied to him because it's his auntie. And then his mum, who was I wouldn't say she was a horrible woman. She was quite a stern woman, but you find things out about her past where you find out Carla doesn't like her because there was an accident where her young son died in the care of the victim's mum. I'll read the synopsis and then I'll go into more detail. So the synopsis says, 3 women connected by one brutal crime, 3 women determined to right the wrongs done to them, 3 women with everything to hide. When it comes to revenge, even good people are capable of terrible things, but only one person killed Daniel Sutherland. How long can their secrets smoulder before they explode into flame? So Daniel Sutherland is killed. Throughout the book, we get excerpts of another story, and it's a memoir that Miriam has written that was stolen from her by Carla's husband, who's a crime writer in the story. Well, she says it was stolen. He did steal it in not some. He says he didn't, but he did. And then he wrote a similar story based on what she lent him to read because she was a fan of his.
Plagiarised it.
Yeah, it's plagiarised it. Yeah, so she knows that he's an author. She works on a canal boat that's a book, or she works in I can't remember if it's a canal boat that's like a bookstore or a bookstore that's on not the shore, what's it called, on land. I can't remember which way it goes round, but he was in the bookstore and she was a fan of his and they got talking and she gave him her memoir to read, like a transcript to mark and that, and to get some advice, and he never gave it back. But he then came out with a story that was similar to what she'd written in her memoir. There were slight differences, but most of the story was the same. And she's never really forgiven him for that because he's known for that story, even though he's an author before that. That's one of his most famous. And she finds this Daniel Sutherland on his canal boat, and he's actually the author's nephew. So what happens is Carla is married to the author. I can't remember his name. I'm trying to remember his name. She's married to the author. They have a baby, and then when he's a few years old, maybe 2 or 3, she's going away on a work trip, and he begs to go with her, so they can't take the child. So they give the child to her sister, not give, but to care for a few days, and she takes her eyes off him for a second, and he falls off her balcony, and the child is obviously not alive in the garden.
And letting it stay on a balcony and take your eyes away from a child that's on a balcony.
They've never really forgiven her, but she still lives around the area. And then we find out after a couple of days that Carla has got some sketchbooks of Daniel, her nephew, and he's in love with her, he's besotted with her, so he's got all these pictures. They've not done anything, but their relationship's quite weird. And also there's a journal of, he admits to some things, and she's one of the prime suspects. And then the second one, Laura, she's a young girl who knew Daniel. I think they were going out perhaps, and when I say young, she's about 19, 20. But when she was a young girl, about 7, I think, she got into an accident. She was involved in a hit and run. And she has suffered brain damage. I believe she got a broken fibula from it, collapsed lung, fractured skull, and she was in a coma for a few days. She's got brain damage from it. So she can look after herself, but she doesn't understand certain emotions. She can't relay, so because she's like childlike. So I think he takes advantage of that. I read the whole book. From what I read in here, I think he takes advantage of that. But there are things that are left at the crime scene that would tie Laura to the crime. So her house keys left there. She's stolen some earrings as well. And it turns out that her mum was having an affair with the guy that ran her over, because he was about to leave the house, and then Laura came round the corner, round the road on her scooter, and he backed into her, ran her over, and then the mum told him to drive off really quick to clear the scene. And she's never forgiven her mum. And she found out that they was having an affair when Laura was at the hospital, because I think they didn't realise that she was awake, and she heard conversations and things, and then the parents split up. So each parent has got a new lover, and they don't really speak to Laura. You know, she asks them for help, she asks them for money, because she loses her job, because of the way she is with her brain damage. She's quite chaotic, and she brings a lot of drama to people's lives, because she doesn't understand the situation fully that she gets herself into. And she doesn't understand certain emotions. So she loses her job from the laundrette that she works in. So the night she gets arrested, she just comes in the house from getting her shopping, and I think it's from Farm Foods or Iceland or whatever, and a lot of it's frozen, and she doesn't even get a chance to put it in the freezer. So all she's worried about when she's getting questioned is, I need to go home and put my food in the freezer. I've got no food now. So it's that kind of thing. And then the third woman, Miriam Webster, I think she's called, yeah, that's her name. She finds Daniel dead, and I think it's because she hasn't seen the boat move, or she hasn't seen him come out the boat in a few days. She's emptying and filling up like her water bottle and something, and she glances over. The boat's in this, it's still moored in the same position. He's not answering, so she goes into the cabin in the boat, and that's when she finds him. She calls the police, but she takes Laura's key off the floor, and she hides it in a little box that she's got. So I think she's trying to use it to blackmail Laura to pin the crime on somebody else. That's what it is, because she knows that Laura's going to get questioned by that.
But she's committed a crime by doing that.
Yeah, and then as you get into the book more, every other chapter's like one. I'll try and show you. One is italicized, so that's the excerpt of the one who got away, which is the story that the author wrote. And what it is, when Miriam was younger, she was kidnapped by somebody who liked her friend, but Miriam was always like the short, ugly, fat friend.
Right.
Never really, boys were never really interested in her.
So why was she kidnapped?
So her friend, Elaine, was talking to this guy, and then she got into the car with Elaine, and Miriam always went where Elaine went, so she didn't want Elaine to go on her own with this guy, so she went with him, and then they were both kidnapped. Elaine was killed by the guy. Miriam was locked in a room. She managed to get out by breaking a window, and she'd cut herself. She managed to escape when he was doing what he did to Elaine. I think he punched her in the throat, and he did other things to her. He doesn't fully go into detail, but you hear that he's punched her in the throat. So while he is asleep, unconscious, doing whatever he is with Elaine in the other room, she breaks a window and gets out. Obviously, as she's getting out, because there's still shards of glass in the window frame, she cuts herself, so she's leaving a trail of blood where she goes. She manages to keep running. She runs down the road, and she sees a car coming, and she does this for help, not realising that it's him. And once she realises that that's the same car that picked her up, she carries on running, and she hides in a field. And she's like in a muddy field, it's raining. He tries to get her again, and then she hits him on the head with a rock and keeps hitting him and leaves his body there, and she goes, oh, he's dead, but he's not dead. it's really good. I liked it, but I felt because it kept flitting from Miriam's point of view, Carla's point of view, Laura's point of view, the author's point of view, and then the novel within the novel, when we had them chapters, it was a bit, you know, convoluted. Yeah, it's a really convoluted story.
Was it a page turner?
When I was in the chapters, yes. Like, I didn't want to. I can't stop a book in the middle of a chapter anyway. I always have to get to the end. But with this one, I felt like I need to finish a chapter. I can't wait to finish a chapter because I was enjoying it. But then I'd say, oh, it's now a different point of view. So I had to get my head around that. Flitting from, okay, this is what's happened with Miriam, this is what's happened in the story, this is what's happened. That's what I don't like. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'll try and show you again. So the one who got away, so that's more story there. That's why that chapter doesn't have a number, because it's just the one who got away. And then you've got chapter 9. So that was Miriam then, chapter 9. So then let's just go to chapter 10. So this is all about Miriam now. And then it's the one who got away again. So then we're back into the story that she's written. And now we're into the detectives questioning Carla.
Right.
Chapter 10.
So like the one that got away story
is the story that he wrote.
In between some of the chapters.
Yes. I'm just trying to, forgive me, I'm just trying to find his name. Carla's husband's name, who's the author. 1 second. I'll edit this bit out, but I'm just trying to find. Mr. Meyerson is referred to, but he does have a first name.
Obviously.
Does Mr. Meyerson have a temper? What's he called?
Would you know some books we like to read more than once? Is it something you would want to read again?
Yeah, because I think it. Once you read a book,
you can take it in more.
Yeah, you can take it in more. You pick up more details. So I would read it again. I would only give it 4 stars though, purely because of the way the chapters are laid out. Like, I'd rather instead of the one who got away be in between the chapters, rather it all be at the end.
Yes.
So you get
that would make sense.
So then you understand why.
Yeah.
So I think it should be obviously the 3 female point of views and the police, whatever, and then. You know, we're going through the book thinking, oh, she thinks it's plagiarised the story, but what's the story? And then we get it.
Maybe it would have been better to have the book at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, because then you can sort of say, oh, you know, she thinks he played because you've read. So maybe the one that got away story should have been at the beginning. And I know not in between.
I know that this will be a book that you'd like. Because it's a crime, murder. It's a murder anyway. It's a thriller. It's a crime. But we have different mindsets with books anyway. So I think you find this a page turner.
I find when they go from one thing to another, like they have there, I get very.
It is confusing, isn't it?
I get very frustrated with those sort of books, which brings me.
It does have a map at the beginning, but
right.
I didn't once refer back to that map. I didn't need to.
No.
Because it's that convoluted anyway that I was just like,
you
whatever, I'm not going to find it more. Yeah.
So you'd give that a 4?
A 4 stars. If I weren't so confused with the layouts of the chapters, I would have given it a 5.
Oh, right.
But I found that it also makes it a really slow book for me because I was reading it, putting it down, getting my head around the chapter, picking it up, reading the story, thinking, okay, this has happened. It does make you also realise why Miriam's the way she is, because she's like never married. She's living on a houseboat on her own, a canal boat even. Nobody thinks she's attractive. People always say, you know, the short, stumpy, ugly, fat woman, which I don't like those words anyway, but that's how she's referred to. People think she's a busybody, she interferes with things. When you're reading The One Who Got Away, which is a book plagiarised on her transcript, you've realised why she's the way she is. So it's not nice, but people always have this, you know, preconceived opinion, don't they?
Yeah.
But I wish that was all together.
Yeah, it probably make more sense, and you wouldn't have to get your head round or think, right, who am I reading about now?
But some of the chapters are that long. I think one chapter in it was 20 pages. It was needed, I think, but then the next one after that was automatically a different chapter. for a different person. So I would have to like read a chapter, put it down, eat my dinner, think about what I just read, and then pick up the book again.
Right.
So I couldn't ever read this while I was at work because
No.
there was too much going on
Yeah.
anyway.
And to put it down, you'd lose your place.
Yeah, I
You'd
couldn't
forget
think.
what's what.
Even though I use a bookmark, which is this is the one I've been using, my purple book stack this time. I try and read it on my lunch break, but I can't read with noise. And my workplace is quite noisy anyway because the person in the room next to me has their office door open and they're always on a phone and loudspeaker, and he's not a quiet talker, so I'm like, I can't read my book. So I take it to work with me, but I wouldn't 9 times out of 10 I didn't pick it up. There was the occasion when I know a lot of people were on holiday and I could pick it up on my lunch break. But again, I'd pick it up, eat my lunch, and then think about the chapter, and then think, I'm not going to pick it up now till I get home. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, give it 4 stars. But it is a good book. The story's good. I just think it's been written in a weird way.
Talking of which,
That's
The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell.
I like
Now,
Lisa Jewell.
We like Lisa Jewell. However, this it was more like a where are they than a who done it.
Okay.
I'll just read the synopsis.
Do you want me to hold this book over?
No, that's fine. Stay there. Be careful who you let in. In a large house in London's fashionable Chelsea, a baby is awake in her cot. Well fed and cared for, she is happily waiting for someone to pick her up. In the kitchen lie 3 decomposing corpses. Close to them is a hastily scrawled note. They've been dead for several days. Who has been looking after the baby? And where did they go? So you're sort of wondering who committed the murder, and was it a murder or a suicide?
Yeah.
And who was looking after the baby? And
Where are they?
what happened to the actual children? Because there was multiple children living there. Where did they go? So it was more of a where are they and who are they than anything else.
So did the person that looked after the child kill the family?
I can't tell you the ending.
Oh, okay.
But basically what it is, you've got this, you've got Libby, whose real name is Serenity.
Okay.
Now she was the baby.
Yeah.
Serenity Lamb. She's the baby.
Yeah.
And she changes her name. She's, when the police, because they get this call, you know, one of these calls that they don't leave a name, and they say that they've seen bodies or they've smelt some or they've heard a shot or something. They give some information, so the police go, the fire, the police, the ambulance, they go, they see these 3 decomposing bodies, and then they hear a baby crying. So they go up, and the chappie that rescued the baby, there's a journalist who writes about it, and then it sort of falls by the wayside because the scrawl, the written scrawl, the note, gives the impression that it was suicide. That David, his name is, David is a sort of Charles Manson type of person, in respect that he gets people to believe what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a nice person, and his wife, Sally, and there's they take over because you've got Serenity, which is Libby, you've got Lucy, and you've got Henry. And I think, no, Clemency and Finn are brother and sister. Now, David has got a son called Finn, and it's spelt Phin, and there's a sister, Clemency. And David's wife, Sally, apparently end up moving in to this house. It's a big house. The lambs loaded, right? Absolutely loaded. And their mum and dad, Serenity's mum and dad, her big brother Henry, they're quite happy living there. They've got, you know, I mean, Serenity doesn't realise she's not born at the time this happens. She comes along during all this. It's sort of like a commune. It ends up like a commune. And this David sort of takes over. He gets them to get rid of all their luxuries. They're not allowed out. They're not allowed at school. He's teaching them and Sally's teaching them. And then somebody else comes along named Birdie and her husband Justin, well, boyfriend, I don't think they're really married. And they're together and they move in. And the mom and Henry's mum and dad sort of really into all this commune malarkey. And they've got nothing. David says, we're going to give everything to the poor. And this goes on till they've got nothing and they're not allowed to wear clothes. They're given basic, they get some black material and everybody has to wear the same thing, black leggings and a black top. And Finn is friends with Henry, but Henry has developed a crush on Finn.
Okay.
And he wants to be like Finn, and he loves Finn. He can't help his feelings,
No,
but
he can't.
Finn isn't gay. And Finn's sort of indifferent to him. I don't think he realises at first. Anyway, they sort of get friends, and he says to Henry, do you want to come up on the roof? And they go up on the roof. There's a way going out the bedroom to get out the window and go up on the roof that the family don't know about, that they know about it. And Finn has bought some LSD. He's bought microdot. I think it's a microdot he's bought. Because there's always tablets, microdots, all sorts. And they have a trip and never leave the roof. They start, you know, seeing things. They're having a good trip for them. And they're laughing and messing about, and they go downstairs. They come off the roof and they go downstairs, and David sees them and knows instantly what's happened, and he goes mental at them and ends up locking Finn in his room. And then they decide to take the locks off the doors on the inside and they put them on the outside, so everybody's locked in their bedroom. They're not allowed out except for meals. The meals, no meat, no dairy. It's very little, and of course they're malnourished. They're basically being starved.
Yeah.
And Finn falls ill. He gets ill. Henry, not realising, he's only young, Henry. He's about 9 and Finn's about 11, and you know.
So how did they get LSD at that age?
Well, Finn knew where to buy some, and he was tall, so he looked older than his years, okay. And he knew.
Okay.
And he'd hid it on the roof. See, so yeah, they did it for a laugh, as you do. And his dad had got all this money, and basically what his dad David had been doing is when he got Henry's parents to give him all their treasures, he was hoarding them and he was keeping money and all the jewellery, though he pretended that he'd given it to the poor and he hadn't. He'd got it locked in his room. And Henry comes out of his, you know, because they're going for meals.
Yeah. And
so his room is unlocked, and he steps out and he notices David kissing his own mum.
Yeah.
And he realises that his mum is having an affair with David, and he tells Finn, not realising the pain that will cause, you know, your dad's having it off with my mum sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Sally makes out that she's very happy about it. She understands it's okay, you know, but obviously it's not. It's breaking her heart. And his mum gets pregnant. Now, Henry had made friends with Justin, who was Birdie's husband, or other of. And Justin was very into plants and all that. So Henry found out all he could about plants and found out that certain plants will cause a miscarriage. So he pretends to be looking after his mum because he's hoping that things can go back to normal. If she loses the baby, then everything will go back to normal. His dad will get annoyed and kick them out because he doesn't like these interlopers. And his mum, she loses the baby because of what he's been giving her. And he's sort of upset, but he's only a child. He doesn't really understand the depression that his mum gets into because of losing the baby. And then he sees David with Birdie and mentions that as well. And Henry tells Finn, and Finn mentions it. They go mad and Sally finds out, so Sally leaves the place. She's not going to stay there another minute, and she goes off. She's going to come back for her daughter when she's got somewhere to live because she's technically homeless. His dad has had a stroke, but they're not getting him any medical help, so he's worried about his dad. His dad seems just, he's got nothing, you know. He used to be quite a successful man, and he's just nothing. They're not really looking after him at all. And Justin is still there, even though his wife has moved in with David into David's bedroom. And Henry has got close to Justin and asks him how he can be so calm about it, and doesn't it bother him? And he tells Henry, asks him to keep it a secret, and he said he's moving, he's going to Wales, but not to tell David, because David is trying to stop people from leaving. He's got a control thing, he's got to control everything, hence why all the doors have got the bolts on the outside, and that way the kids can't get out, and they can only come out, and if they're punished, it means they've got to be locked in their room, and the meal will be taken up to them, and they're not allowed out of the room at all. And this goes on for a bit. And in the end, his sister, Finn's sister, Clemency, is pregnant. Is Clemency his sister? No, Clemency is Henry's sister. She's the older child. And she gets pregnant. And it turns out, I mean, she's only 14. And this David, she's got pregnant by this David. And when Henry finds out, well, he thinks it's this David. Henry finds out, he goes ballistic. And then it turns out that it isn't David's, it's Finn's. She was upset one time and Finn was upset, and it just happened. Henry goes mad. And they decide, because at first he thought David had done it, they decided they were going to leave. We've all got to go, we've got to get rid of them, we've got to go. And then the 3 bodies occurred. Birdie, David, and his mum.
Oh.
And they go off, leaving these bodies, and Finn stays behind and looks after the baby for a while, and then he goes. And then it's sort of what happens is you've got now where they're grown up and they're in whatever country they're in. And then another chapter is going back, so you learn about their childhood. And that's another thing you're thinking, where am I now? Oh,
Yeah.
1990. Okay, so this is, and it's very difficult because they've all changed the name. You don't realise at first that those people are those children. And Lucy is homeless. She's on the street. She's got 2 kids herself now. She left her husband, who was an abuser, and she left him. And the only thing she knew, I mean, the lessons they had when they were children, she was taught to play the violin by this birdie who apparently was in a rock band or a folk band or something. And so she could play the violin beautifully. So she'd go out, and she was in America or France. No, America first. And she played, and then she ended up going to France because she left her husband. And she went to France, and then she decided to go back to her husband because her ex-husband, because she needed to get some fake passports because she wanted to go to the UK, because what they knew is the house, which was worth a lot of money, had been left to the children, to Henry and all them, but they had to turn up, and none of them bothered to turn up. And then when Serenity was 25, she went, so the house became hers. But she wanted to find out about herself. She wanted to find out how she didn't realise who her real parents were. She thought her parents was her dad, Henry Senior, and her mum, or David being her dad. She didn't know. She wanted to know, so she met up with the journalist who wrote the story about this baby being found, and he was like, "Oh my God, you're the baby, wow," and all this. And he says that he will help her. So she goes back to the house. Now her boss is a very understanding boss, and says to her, "I'll come with you." So they go to this house. It's really old and all that. And she realises that somebody's been going there because things have moved. And there's a hole in the back gate where somebody can come in, and they go in that way. And she decides she wants to stay there for the night. And it's Finn. Well, she believes it's Finn, because this guy comes along and says, "Oh," she's got the newspaper reporter with him, and he says, "Oh, I live across the road in this beautiful flat. Come over and I'll tell you all about what happened." So they go over, and they get drunk. And when she wakes up in the morning, she's in the same bed as the journalist, but they're fully clothed. And the journalist is one end of the bed and she's the other, so nothing happened. But they can't find their phones. And when she gets up to open the door's locked from the outside. And on the night when they got drunk, he said it wasn't a suicide, it was murder, and tells them about it. And the journalist had recorded it on his phone. When he gets his phone, the recording's gone. And it's not Finn, it's Henry.
Oh.
And he dropped them. But they decided that they would all get there. They would all find a way of getting there so they could reunite as a family. And Lucy gets there with her children. And they find out that Clemency is in Cornwall. So they decide to go down to Cornwall. And that's where their mum is. She moved to Cornwall. She's got this healing centre thing. So they go there. So although you sort of find out that the three people was it a murder or a suicide? You're still not
So
100%.
confusing.
It is very confusing because you're flicking. You might read a chapter, and then you get onto you think, all right, let's go on to the next chapter is 1990. You know, and you just get so lost in it. I mean, the idea of the story is quite good.
Yeah.
In respect that it's more of a where are they and what they've been up to. And was it murder? Was it suicide? You're still not 100% certain. And so I only gave it a 4 because this was another one where I kept having to put it down. Although, I mean, you know, there's certain things that have happened
Yes.
in the last few weeks that sadly life has really kicked.
Both of us in the bum.
Yeah.
You mostly.
So my brain wasn't really, and I did have to keep thinking, no, was that current time or so many years ago? And oh yeah, but there is a murder. Lucy's ex-husband gets murdered. Serves him right, really. He's not a nice man, and you don't hear any more about that. So in some respects, I don't know why it was mentioned in the first place, because you don't hear of any police investigation, or it doesn't go back to that. It's like, okay, he's dead, that's it. And they don't really, even though you get this conflicting suicide, murders, even though the journalist sort of has an idea, the police aren't called in, which, you know, sort of new information might need an open, you know, to reopen the case. So it's quite confusing. It's a good idea. The story itself, in respect, when you think of just the story itself, is good. It's just, oh God, it's confusing. You have to keep getting your head around it.
Just
you have to get your head around it constantly.
And I listened to you as well. I don't think
I did. That's why I was saying to you, I was really, really disappointed with it.
I don't think I'll pick up that book.
Maybe if I read it again, I might read it again in a few weeks, months, whatever. Not read it as a review, but just read it to sort of as a story.
That's
you
funny.
know. I'll do this one. I haven't finished this, but we never tell you the end anyway. The Housekeepers is a mystery, a sort of mystery. It's
Like Agatha Christie.
Sort of. It's set in the 1800s. 1905. It's set in 1905. So Queen Victoria's dead. She died in 1901. So now Edward VII is on the throne. So it's Edwardian. It's sort of quite good. It is good. I would say it's a revenge story. It's a revenge. It's definitely a revenge story. The big house, obviously, and it's the De Veres. Now, the husband, William De Veres, was really Danny O'Flynn, and he went to Africa, made his fortune, conned a lot of people, but made his fortune, changed his name, came back a wealthy man with a woman, a wife, and got a lot of servants. And he dies, and his wife decides, I don't want these servants. So she gets rid of the Mrs. King, who's sort of like the female equivalent of the butler. You know, she's the one in charge. She's the, you know, the one who deals with all the stuff, and they sack her. And what happens is the actual butler tells her she's got to go, because he tells the mistress that he saw Mrs. King in the early hours of the morning coming out of somebody's bedroom, and that's a no-no. So she gets sacked, and she decides she's going to get her own back. So she's got people that she can go to. There's a Mrs. Bone who she has legal businesses, and she has illegal businesses. She's sort of like a fence, and they're not friends as such, but they've got a healthy respect for each other, but they're always trying to, you know, be the one in charge. So she gets Mrs. Bone on board. She's got a couple of friends. One of them is an actress friend, and she gets her, and I think the other is her half sister or something called Alice, and they get one or two other people on board. Obviously, you know, the idea is that they're going to nick everything out the house, which you're thinking, right, but there's going to be a party at the house,
Yeah.
and they're going to rob it while there's everybody there
Okay.
in the party. That's the idea.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a precision, you know. They've got people in there so they can sort of case the place. And Mrs. King remembers where stuff was because she worked there and she used to find an excuse. But then Mrs. Bone has gone there as a cleaner just so she can go to certain areas. Like she goes into the dining room, although she's not really allowed in there. It's because anything that's dirty that nobody will clean, she cleans it. So she goes in there just to have a look. Pinches some stuff and goes and sells it to the policeman.
God.
Yeah, so that they've got him on board so they can blackmail him or whatever. It's really good.
Okay, good.
I'm hoping the ending will be
can't
good
wait
because
to
I haven't
read it,
read. We don't give you the ending because we never really want to
I
spoil
can't wait
things
to
for
read
you.
it. Yeah.
Yes, it's not exactly a comedy, but you can see the funny side of things.
Yeah.
The thing is, I believe Mrs. I think it was Mrs. It's either Mrs. King or Mrs. Bone. It was Mrs. Bone. Her maiden name was O'Flynn. She was his sister.
Yeah.
And he sort of conned her, semi-conned her, but not totally. He said, you know, come on board, she's got this mine or whatever. She did put into it. He did give her some money back, but he also gave her a lot more money so that she wouldn't tell people who he really was. So they thought he was a real, you know, high-profile lord or whatever. And the thing I like is, I'll read the synopsis. Upstairs, Madam is planning the party of the season. Now, bearing in mind, her husband's just died.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it's been a week maybe. And she's planning this party. She was planning the party when he died, really. All eyes are on the grandest house in Mayfair as the countdown to their lavish summer ball begins. Everything must be perfect, but with the chandeliers gleaming and cellars stocked, loyal housekeeper Mrs. King is suddenly dismissed.
Oh.
Downstairs, the servants are plotting the heist of the century. As the clock strikes 12 on the night of the ball, Mrs. King will return to strip the house of its riches, right under the nose of her former employer. And she knows just who to recruit to pull off the impossible, a bold alliance of women with nothing left to lose and every reason for revenge. And that's what
Wow,
it is,
I can't
basically.
wait to read that. It sounds funny.
I didn't laugh, but I did smile.
Find it
But
pretty funny,
I did
yeah.
see a good side of it, and I don't know. I think this is his first book, but I might be wrong on that. It shows you an invite.
It looks like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
The House of De Vere's requests the honour of your company at a costumed ball on Monday, the 26th of June, 1905, 9 o'clock. Park Lane, W1, full dress. An acknowledgement is requested, addressed to the lady of the house. So that's the invite. Alice is a wonderful, wonderful seamstress, and she does her own sort of designs. And she's in the house principally to help the lady of the house, who's ordered a beautiful dress from Bond Street, but Alice has to do the finishing touches to it, and she ends up having to re-sew and try and make it look, because it's a horrible dress. And the lady of the house sees some of Alice's sketches and decides she wants the dress that Alice has designed, and Alice has never made this dress, so she's, you know, sort of said, you've got to make it by such and such, and I want it like that. And so Alice is making a dress for the first time. She's very good seamstress, and the idea is so, you know, she can case the joint as well, and keep an eye on the lady of the house. So they've all got their own little jobs to do, to be able to strip the place bare while the party's going on
in front of everyone.
Yeah, so it's a sort of mystery.
Good.
But it's a revenge.
Good.
Because, you know, some of the servants liked the master and are grieving for him, and she's making this party. We're having a party, and she's still in pigging mourning, supposedly. But she wants to get back out there. She's having this party principally to find another husband.
Get into the house of money, yeah.
Well,
that sounds good.
So yeah,
I can't wait to read that. So you didn't read Heartless, and you didn't read Girls of Fate and Fury.
No.
I didn't read Powerless, and I've only read 2 chapters of You Are Here by David Nichols, so I'm not in a position yet to give a review, but I know what the book's about. The book is about 2 recently widowed, middle-aged people. I wouldn't call them middle-aged because I think late 30s, early 40s to me isn't middle-aged, but I think 50 and over is middle-aged, and then 65 and over is elderly.
Well, no, because middle-aged is sort of all through 60, and I think early 70s people... early 70s, because people are living longer now.
Yeah.
It's sort of really difficult to work out where the middle age bit comes in. But yeah.
Well, they're not that old anyway.
No.
They're referred to as middle aged. Well, I don't think they're middle aged. It's about 2 recently widowed or single people that are part of this community where they go on like coastal walks and paths and things.
Oh, right.
And Marnie and Michael are attracted to each other, but they don't tell each other, and then they separate. And then it's not until they've separated and gone back home from this coastal walk that they realise that they are attracted to each other and they want to tell each other. So yeah, that's it. What it says is Marnie is stuck working alone in her London flat, stuck battling the long afternoons and a life that often feels like it's passing her by. Michael is coming undone, reeling from his wife's departure, increasingly reclusive, taking himself on long solitary walks across the moors and fells, when a persistent mutual friend and some very English weather conspire to bring them together. Marnie and Michael suddenly find themselves alone on the most epic of walks and on the precipice of a new friendship. But can they survive the journey? Now, it is a romance, but it's a kind of romance that I'd want to read. So I'm 2 chapters in. I'm not in a position yet to give my opinion on it because I'll try to read up to 50 pages, and then if it's not doing it for me, I won't carry on. I'll DNF the book. So when we get to page 50, I'll let Joe know if I've read any more or if I'm going to continue. But yeah, that's it. Quite a disappointing pick, I think we have, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe's read 2 and I've read 1 out of 6 books. So they're going to be left aside, and we're going to do another pick in a second. We're not going to do it on camera because then we'll be spoiling it, but that'll be for our June reads. And then if there's a couple we want to read that aren't part of the pick, we'll just do that and review them as well. Okay?
We do have to say that we went to 66 Warehouse in
66 Books Warehouse.
In Hemel Hempstead, and it was really good. The only problem is neither of us do good in crowds, do we?
No.
I don't like people walking behind me, so which makes it very difficult when you're in a warehouse.
Yeah.
And you can only go down,
aisles and that.
The aisles, so you're gonna have people behind you, and I did find that really panicky, which is why every so often I kept trying to find another route to go. and you don't like crowds either, because people are trying to get past, and it's limited space getting past, and we're trying to look at the books that are there, because I mean,
I'm sure we've missed loads.
I think we did as well. It only happens twice a month, doesn't it?
Yes, 2 weekends a month.
Yeah, and
Saturday
it's £2 membership for the year, and you get 70% off each book.
Yeah, March price. Yeah. So
So we found that really good, didn't we?
In total, our full total should have been £96 and something. We ended up paying, including the membership fee, £29 for the books. That was good, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reason I don't like crowds is, I mean, I'm an anxious person anyway, but for me, I'm so conscious of, oh my God, I'm in the way, that if someone comes up to me and I can see they're looking for a book, I'll move out the way, but then I haven't had a chance to look, that I'm like...
Because that's what we would do, we sort of just glancing, weren't we? And we saw because I bought 3 books, which when I added them up come to £26 something, and I only paid £8.09, which was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But I wanted to look for specific. They don't do new publishings, do they? Like if there was a new book out that week, it wouldn't be there at the warehouse. But they had hardbacks, didn't they? Of
all
some
genres.
books. Yeah, everything, anything and everything. They got some games, they got journals, they got tarot cards, they got literally all sorts in there, as well as books. And there was some in boxes, and the boxes haven't been opened. You're not allowed to. It's a working warehouse, so it's like, bear that in mind when you're going down looking for a book. But there was loads, wasn't there? And we know that we probably missed some of them.
I'll go again, but I'd have the idea of going when the weather's bad, so because then you think, oh, not a lot of people are going to go.
Hopefully.
But then I'm thinking, is everyone going to have that idea? So it's hard to judge, but I think next time I wouldn't go on a train because the station's quite far to the other side of Hemel Hempstead. I would drive again, but
we'd know this time how because there was a queue, and it was like, the queue can't be for that. Well, there was a recycling plant, and I said to Kim, let's just carry on down. And she did ask a couple of people, is this the queue for 66 Books Warehouse? And one guy was saying yes, and somebody else said, oh no, it's for the dump. It's for the dump. So I said, let's just go down there and we'll turn around. Well, when we went down, we saw the sign and we thought, oh, we'll carry on. So there's some poor bloke that was in the queue
for the dump. I'm like, oh, and they'd already been waiting like half an hour, 45 minutes, and I'm like, I've just gone straight in.
Yeah, because it does say, doesn't it, on the website or something, that if there's a queue, it's for the recycling, so just carry on. So we'll know where to go this time, and then we wanted something to eat and we couldn't find where to park. But we got good, there. We know, don't we? The weather wasn't bad, was it? It was
a good day.
Yeah.
So we had a good time.
It was, and we got back in no time at all.
Yeah.
Really. So we know where we're going. We know what we'll be doing and how to get there. Yeah. So next time we go, it won't be a problem. Hopefully, it'll be in really bad weather, so there'll be hardly anybody there, which will suit me.
And me. Right, guys. So thank you for listening. If you've got any recommendations, leave the comments on Facebook. Joe will respond to them, or send a message. Leave a comment down below, which we both can respond to, or leave a comment on Instagram, or send a message on Instagram, which I'll respond to. So that just gives us fair ground then of trying to capture every recommendation or every comment or anything. If you just want to say hi, come and say hi. So we hope you've read some of these books, or if you haven't, maybe try and pick them up now, and even if we haven't read them, see what you think of them.
Okay? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.